Hi everyone, my name is Kate Kalthoff and welcome to a Stamping to Share video. Today I'm going to share with you a card that I created for a swap that I participated in at Madison, Wisconsin for our Stampin' Up! OnStage local. This is a great event and it was so much fun to be a part of it. This is the card and you can see it uses the new Seaside embossing folder, and we have a little circle here inside the compass rose that's part of our enamel shapes. And then it uses a stamp set called Wherever You Go, one of my favorites in the annual catalog. We are also using an in-color doily. So let me go ahead and show you some of the special items that we're using in this card. We are going to use Moroccan Designer Series paper. And this has some wonderful fall images, or actually fall colors that could be used really for any time of year, but the images are just awesome. Has sort of that mandala look. And then this is the piece that we're going to use on our card. It's an in color called Delightful Dijon, and I just love it. It works so great with Night of Navy, which is what I am offsetting this card with. And then these are our enamel dots, and I'm going to use the Regal's enamel dots. And we also have some in-color doilies that we'll be using on this card, and I'll be using this Delightful Dijon doily over here. So let's go ahead and make this card. We are going to start with a Night of Navy base card. This is cut at 4 1/4 by 11 inches, and then I've scored it at 5 1/2. So I'm going to take my bone folder, going to fold along the score line, and then I'm just going to give it a good press so it lies flat for us while we work with it. The next piece of paper that we're going to use is very vanilla. I have this cut at 4 by 5 1/4, and I'm just going to put a little bit of snail along the back side, and then we'll set this into the inside panel of our card. Now you'll notice that I have some Designer Series paper along the left side of this panel. This is 1/2 by 4 inches, and I just set that along on the left side. I did not stamp a sentiment in here because this card can be used for so many different occasions. So now let's work on the front panel, and we are going to need some Tip Top Taupe. This is 4 by 5 1/4, and then we're going to run this panel through the Big Shot machine using the Seaside embossing folder. So let me show you my setup. I used the Big Shot platform without the thin die adapter. So this is just the platform by itself. And you know that it's used for embossing folders because they actually have pictures of embossing folders here and how to layer it. Then I went ahead and I put my cut plates down, or I put one of my cut plates, then I put the embossing folder with the paper inside of it, and then a cut plate over the top. And when you roll it through the Big Shot machine, you get this wonderfully embossed look. And I love that this looks like waves. This is great for so many things. You don't have to live by the sea in order to enjoy this embossing folder. So now we're going to just go ahead and we're going to add a strip of Designer Series paper along the bottom. And again, this is from our Moroccan Designer Series paper. It's 1 by 5 1/4 inches. So I'm going to put a little multi-purpose liquid glue along the back and just framing that panel, and then we're just going to set this along the bottom of our Tip Top Taupe panel. And then we'll go ahead and, again, using multi-purpose liquid glue, we'll just put a little frame all along, and then we'll set this right on the front panel of our card. And we'll just make sure that that is nice and even all the way around. Then we're going to set this aside for a minute because we're going to next work on our vanilla panel that we'll be stamping on. So I'm going to grab a piece of grid paper here, and I'm just going to set it down because our stamping will go outside of this area. So this is very vanilla, and it's 2 3/4 by 3 1/2. So I'm going to start by stamping the bridge, and I'm going to stamp that in Night of Navy. So I'm going to go ahead and we're just going to set this in here, and I'm just making sure that this bottom column lines up parallel with the card piece that I am stamping on. Then we're going to go ahead and, using the sun image from this stamp set, I'm going to ink this up with Delightful Dijon. And then we'll just stamp this right here and give it a press. And that is now done. Now you'll notice how very, very dark it looks. Don't worry about that, because as it dries, it will lighten up and it will look just like our sample that we started with. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to ink our sentiment up in Night of Navy, and we'll be stamping this up here in the upper left. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to stamp that compass rose in the upper right panel, making sure that N is to the north. And then we're going to stamp the bird. So I'm going to ink the bird up in Night of Navy, and we'll just stamp him right there. Now we will go ahead and we'll put a Night of Navy enamel dot onto our card. So I'm just pulling it off with a paper piercing tool, and we're going to set that right here in the center of our compass rose. And then we can go ahead and we'll put this stamped panel onto a piece of Night of Navy. Now this is cut at 2 7/8 by 3 5/8, so it's going to be 1/8 inch larger than the stamped panel. So I'm going to take my snail, and again I like to use snail when I'm working with Whisper White or Very Vanilla, so we don't have to worry about any glue lines showing through. I'm just going to set this over here. I'm just going to kind of hoover it over and make sure that all of our edges are even before putting it down. And now we're ready to go ahead and put this onto our card base that we have ready. Now I do want to add one of those in color doilies. So I have it right here, and I'm just going to set it here. And before I actually put this down, I'm going to put this panel onto the front of my card and just kind of wiggle it into place right where I want it. Then I'll hold it over here on the right side, and then I can kind of move this until I get that lined up just where I want it. And when I have it right where I want it, then I will pull away this part, and I'll grab some Scotch tape, and we'll just set this in here so that we have it in the spot that we want. And then what I'll do is I'll go ahead and I'll just take a little bit of snail, and I'll just put this under here so that this doesn't get too floppy. Now we'll go ahead and we'll add some dimensionals to the back of this panel. And as you can see, I've added 5 dimensionals, and now I can go ahead and making sure that I have everything lined up just the way I want it on the right side and the bottom edge. I can go ahead and put this down, and our card is complete. So here's what the card looks like, and here is the card that I had done in advance. Thank you so much for stopping by Stamping to Share today. I truly appreciate you. If you're interested in placing a Stampin' Up! Product order, see my blog at www.stampingtoshare.com, and there's links there that will take you to my online store. Have a great day. Bye-bye.